Welcome back to What's Haunting the Hearsts. Today is not my podcast. I'm just giving a little informational video that might be helpful to you all. I have discovered two new to me podcasts on YouTube that have absolutely just rocked my world. And they may not interest any of you all in the slightest, but they have been game changers for me. Exactly what I've been looking for. You know, you could be on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for years, just watching videos that interest me. And it seems like I run into something brand new all the time that has been out for such a long time, and I've just never known about it. So I'm going to give you, let's see, 4 podcasts that you really need to check out. There's some of the most interesting talks. Some of them are interview type podcasts. Some of them are mystery podcasts. Some of them are podcasts about specific things. But all of them are solid gold. So I'm going to address all 4 of them. Number 1, the one that captured me a couple years back, and I have not turned back from it, is a podcast titled Pints with Aquinas. And it's a Catholic podcast. The host is Matt Fradd. And they have different people from the Roman Catholic community, and they interview them, and they are some of the best long-form discussions you'll ever see. Most of the episodes are longer than an hour. Some of them, I've seen them go up to 3-4 hours an interview. So, I mean, you get a lot of content just from one video. And they're extremely interesting, extremely wholesome, and worth the watch. That's Pints with Aquinas. And I'm going to leave links in the notes. If you want to expand those notes, you can find the links to all these channels, and I'll show pictures of the channels as well on the video. So Pints with Aquinas is number 1. The next podcast I discovered through Pints with Aquinas. See, each one of these introduced me to the next. The next one is Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. So Jimmy Akin is also a Roman Catholic, and he's been on Pints with Aquinas a few times. But he seems to be an absolute genius. I mean, just there's nothing that he doesn't know something about. And one of the most interesting souls I've ever listened to. But he does this podcast called Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. And he deals with different events throughout world history. Dives into them, and they're all mysterious. They all have something. It could be creepy, it could be something mysterious from history, but he dives into them and he looks at them through the perspective of faith and reason, and comes to a conclusion on most episodes of what it could be. And he'll just open up your mind on some of these events in world history. In fact, it's where I came up with the idea for our last podcast when I talked about the Hindenburg. Because he did an episode on the Hindenburg disaster that really opened my eyes to the whole thing. So Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World is number 2. Through Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, he did a interview with a man called, I think it's, and this I've just discovered this in the last few days. I think his name's Alan Harrelson. And he has a YouTube channel called the Pipe Cottage. And as the name suggests, it's all about pipe smoking. Why is that interesting? Go to the channel and find out. He'll educate you on the history of pipes, tobacco, and he even dives into some Southern history. He's got a voice that alone, he could read you a toilet paper label and you would be interested. His South Carolina accent, I think he's in Kentucky, but I think he hails from South Carolina, but his accent is amazing.
You've got this kind of like Florida panhandle thing going, whereas what you really want is more of a Savannah accent, which is more like molasses just sort of spilling out of your mouth.
But he just talking about pipes and slowing down. The fact that in order to smoke a pipe, you have to be intentional. You have to set aside time, and smoking a pipe is a very contemplative action, and it causes you to slow down and think. And he'll give you some insights that are just amazing. So that is the Pipe Cottage with Alan Harrelson. Through Alan Harrelson, I learned about a fourth podcast, and this podcast is a little bit different. They're all about 15-minute videos, maybe less, some of them, where this man, I think he's an Anglican priest from England or Ireland, named Malcolm Guite. And he, in every video, is smoking a pipe. Sometimes he's got a pint of beer while he's smoking a pipe. And he just sits there, relaxes, soothes you through the reading of poetry. Sometimes he'll read an excerpt from The Lord of the Rings or anything from J.R. Tolkien to C.S. Lewis. And he goes over these great historical Christian figures that like to smoke tobacco and mainly pipes, and he'll read poetry and things like that, and it's really one of the most relaxing podcasts I've ever seen. And that's Malcolm Guite. It's just M-A-L. I'll put the link and the picture on the channel without having to spell it, so you can just look at it with your own eyes. Sorry, I just hit a gigantic pothole. But I recommend 100% all four of these podcasts. They're worth a listen, and they'll educate you. They'll relieve some stress from you. And they've given me ideas for my own podcast. Like I said, my last podcast, I got the idea from Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. There's some things I want to do coming up that Malcolm Guite has really lit a fire up under me to do, and maybe read some of my favorite things, excerpts from some of my favorite books or poems or things like that. So be looking for that in the future. Please check out these podcasts. Thank you for watching once again. Our last podcast hasn't done so well. I think it's got 12 views, but even if it had one view, it was worth it. I enjoy doing it, and I hope I hope you all enjoy watching it. So thank you for the 12 who've watched it. Hopefully it'll grow. Hopefully the future podcast will gain more viewers and things of that sort. So, and like I said, I have ideas for future episodes that really I got from all 4 podcasts. So check them out. Thank you for watching What's Haunting in the Hearse. Have a great rest of your evening.